Hello, everybody. It is that time again in the speaker circle. Look, every month, if you're new to the speaker circle, first of all, welcome to the family. We are so happy that you are here. And if you are new, know that we are so happy and that you are free to post upcoming events of speaker events. The only thing that is not allowed is videos. But other than that, we want you to share upcoming events. We want you to ask questions. We want you to just be a part of the family and engage. And something that we do here once a month is we have a live video with an expert in a certain area that can help us grow our speaker business. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in the game for a while, I believe that everyone that comes to this platform shares something that can really help you grow in your speaker business. And so I am honored today, and I feel so blessed to have our guests here. I always say get your pen and piece of paper. Do that. You may even want to get your camera just to take a picture of the moment, okay? Because it's going to be good. That's how good it's going to be. We have Brandy Iberia Austin, the CEO of Luminosity Entertainment Inc. And I think I said it wrong, so she's going to correct me and get my whole life together, okay? And that's all right, because I want to make sure that you understand the importance of the conversation that we're going to have today. It is so important that as you are building your platform, that you have spaces to share your voice, whether that is in radio or even on a podcast. And that's why we're so happy for our guest today, because she knows both of the worlds. In fact, she's been, I think you interviewed on Essence, Red Carpet. I mean, come on now. She's going to be on the speaker circle red carpet today. Hey. And so, get ready, get set, let's go. Let's bring her to the stage, y'all.
Get excited. I absolutely love you, Lenise. You already know. This is always fun when you get to connect with people that are beyond, that are not just doing the work, but people that you call friend. And so I call you sister, I call you friend. And I'm always so excited to do or to be a part of anything that you're doing or that we're doing to get child, wherever you need me, I will fit in. And so, you're not wrong. It is Luminosity. It started as Luminosity Entertainment.
Okay.
Well, that was back in the day when I think I had put you on the thing. I was like, yes, list her on, she on the team. Didn't even know it. Okay. And it was Luminosity Entertainment because I started, for those people who don't know, I started as a singer, songwriter, musician. And so the entertainment piece was something that was a big part of what I did at that time and in that season. But as of today, we operate under Luminosity Media Group, right?
Good.
And so that encompasses really all aspects of media, be it radio, be it the newspaper, or podcasting. You kind of talked about that. And so, yeah, I'm so excited to be here to talk a little bit more about, how people can leverage their speaker business on those platforms.
Wonderful. And you are a social media expert too. Let's just say that.
Media, all of the medias.
All the medias. And so that's why I said, you guys, we are really beyond blessed to have her here sharing with us some nuggets of what you can do to really, really move forward. And of course, you can always hire her company as well. And that's always an option. But we definitely, our goal is, we know that everybody is in different stages. So you may be able to just take one or two things and say, you know what, I'm going to move forward with this. But then you always can come back to this and say, who was that lady? I think I'm ready to go ahead and get some consulting or some things done. So we're going to go ahead again. We're talking about how can you leverage media. I love that, the media platform to push forward your speaker's business. So if you would share with us a little bit how you even got started in doing things in the media arena.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, there's a couple different directions I can go. And so there is something too, you mentioned about me doing kind of like some red carpet stuff. And I did. That was in 2019. I had the esteemed opportunity to work the red carpet at the Stellar Awards. Essence is on the way.
Hey, speaking it out. It's next.
Right. And now I'm on the speaker circle red carpet. I'm so here for all of it. Right. But again, I didn't start out there. I started out, as I said, as a singer, songwriter, musician. And I started to kind of book my own gigs and different things that I did. And I got to almost close my eyes to really think back to where it all started. Luminosity was kind of birthed out of that musical aspect of me. And I started to kind of create graphics and do events based around my talent. And so people started to ask me, what is it, or who is the person behind all that you're doing? And I ended up having to say, well, it was me. And so they were like, well, could you do it for me? And from there, Luminosity was birthed because I started to do it for other people. And
Wow.
So that's kind of where it was started in terms of like the graphics and doing events. But I moved later on into, it started as a blog. So it's still another form of media. And it was called Saved in the City Christian. Well, at the time, just Saved in the City. It was a blog just called Saved in the City. And it was kind of a extension of not extension, but a kind of a copycat, if you will, of Sex and the City. So if you remember that show from back in the day, it was a young woman named Carrie. She wore a pink tutu. And she was kind of going throughout her life, dealing with all the different things going on in her world with her good girlfriends. But she would blog about it and talk about it. And I said, gosh, she reminds me so much of myself. The only difference is I am Christian. And the only difference is that when I have issues and problems, I don't just go to my friends. I take it to my God, right? And so I said, God, this is my life. Let's call it Saved in the City. And so not a pink tutu, but a yellow tutu.
Yes.
We won't get into the meaning of all of that. And so that's kind of where it started. And I had an idea. That I wanted it to be a talk show, an actual TV talk show. I had the whole plan for that. It didn't go in that route. So it went from blog to I was like, I'm going to have a full talk show on the TV. And then opportunity to do radio presented itself. And it just so happened, again, it's still all within media. What I was doing, I had done a what do you call it? I'm going to say a PR. What is that? Press release. I did a press release for a particular young gentleman, and I was just going to pick up a check. I went to pick up the check, and they happened to be at a radio station. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just looking around, and I know it's a newer radio station. And under my breath, I don't think that anybody can hear me because they're not that close to me. And I just said, I could do this. Like I could do a radio show. The person overheard me and says, oh, really? Could you start next week?
Wow.
But what it was the preparation. I didn't know I was going to have a show, and I was preparing for something bigger. But what I had to do was take what I had prepared and just shift it and adjust it to what was before me. And so hopefully that'll help somebody, even as you're moving through your own journey as speakers. You may have an idea of how you see yourself, and maybe I'm going to be a TED Talk speaker, or, I'm going to speak in front of hundreds of thousands of people, but despise not humble beginnings, and also despise not a change of plans, if that makes sense. And so I said, well, it's not TV, but let's give it a try, right? And so that's where radio was birthed. And then again, just being obedient and doing what I already had in my hands.
Ooh, that's good.
For something else, right? And so as I continued to move through that, I was having some issues with that particular station. And I knew it was time to move. God will do that as well. I know, this is not even necessarily a faith-based group, but y'all gonna get some faith-based up in here.
Give it to us. We ready.
Right. No, so as I was moving through, I'm just like, I start to feel like that this is not it. Like there's something more I need to shift. And you'll feel that sometimes on your journeys, like, okay, this is good. You know, maybe doing your live video every Monday or every Tuesday, whatever day it is. And God may say, or whatever it is that you believe, you may hear something inside that says, it's time to do something else, or move to Instagram, or try a podcast, or move into radio, whatever that thing is. At least hear it out, right? And so I knew that I needed to move. I didn't know when and I didn't know how, but what had happened was I had met a young man named LZ who had me on his podcast show to talk about my company, Luminosity. Again, so really all this has to do with is visibility and consistency.
Wow.
This is how LZ found me. This is how I got on the radio, because somebody asked me to do a project. I did the project. I finished the project. I came to get the check. Okay, you know? So it's about not just starting, not just talking about it, but doing it and being consistent. And when it's time to shift, the step will appear. When it's time to make the next move, the next direction will come. But if you don't have the direction yet, be still. Right. So that's a whole part of the process. So I knew I needed to move and I didn't know where to go. And so a friend of mine, like I said, LZ, who had me on his podcast show, I said, you know what? Let me just call him and ask. I didn't have a plan. I knew he was into podcasting. I told him where I was and what I was dealing with, you know, in terms of that particular relationship, you know, and it just wasn't working out for me. And he said, I don't know. He's like, you need to get out of radio. And I'm like, what? He was like, podcasting is the wave of the future, you know, in terms of how people listen and receive music and information. And so I said, well, I don't know anything about podcasting. He was like, you don't have to know, because I do. Right. So sometimes you're not going to know, but God, or whatever it is that you believe, will position you, right, to connect with someone who understands the next level that you're being elevated to. And so I moved from radio into podcasting, and I didn't just move. Because he believed in me, because he saw my heart and my diligence. He had actually had a podcast studio built, and I was the first person to even do the podcast in the studio. This dude was doing the editing for me. I didn't know anything about editing. So this is just a piece of my story. And then I'm going to share with you guys just kind of how you guys can leverage it in your own speaker business. And so again, I got good with podcasting. It was different. It was a different vibe than radio. And again, there's still some benefits to radio. I still have a radio show now. I'm back on radio, but I also have a podcast. And so now I understand how to work both. And so from podcasting, I was out there, I think way out in Pewaukee. I don't know, Lenise, if you ever came to that one, way out there. You may have, I'm not sure. But anyhow, I learned new techniques and new skills and an opportunity to network with a different kind of people, a different group of people. And so it really was a great experience. And so what I've learned through radio, podcasting, and just even just utilizing your social media, you know, being able to go live on Facebook or Instagram. And now TikTok is where a lot of people are blowing up. So, you know, we're talking about leveraging potentially on podcasting and or radio, but really wherever you can be visible and consistent, you're going to win. At some point, something is going to tip. When I tell you this, and a lot of times people feel like they have to have the perfect thing to say. There is a group, as long as you're authentic, I'm telling you, there is a group of people that are waiting to hear your voice, right? The reason why I say you got to be authentic, right? Because that group of people that's called to you will only come if they hear your voice. So you have to be careful that you are not showing up as an imposter. Right? Talking like other people, speaking like other people, because you don't have the confidence in your own self and in your own voice. We need you, right? We need you in your quirkiness, you know, and especially when you're dealing with radio and podcasting, that's all they're going to hear, right? So as authentic as you can be, that is what's going to help you with the consistency, because when you're walking around as a fake, you can only do that but for so long. Okay. So that's a big piece of it. So I guess if I shifted a little bit and talk about how you can leverage that for your speaker business.
Yes.
So getting on radio shows, I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how to potentially get onto different podcast shows as well. That's one side of it. The other side of it is create your own podcast. Okay. And so that's a part of what I ended up doing too, to leverage my Luminosity Media Group business. I have another podcast outside of Saved in the City radio show. I have Marketing with Black Girl Magic, right? So that is completely connected to marketing, media, and PR, right? And so I talk to women, African-American women who are influencers in their field and that are doing amazing things. And so what does that allow me to do? And when we finish the conversation, I build a relationship, right? And there's a connection, and I can now take that relationship and leverage it both ways, right? We're all in it for something. It's a lie if you say that you're not. We're all in it for something. And the thing is, that doesn't mean that's a bad thing, right? My old mentor used to say, we're all tuned in to WIIFM when we sit down across from someone else. WIIFM stands for what's in it for me. Right. And so it may not, and it's not like I'm an evil person, I'm a user, but it might be that I want to connect with this sister because she has a connection somewhere that I don't. Or maybe I just want conversation. I want a good conversation without expectation. So you're in it for something, It doesn't always have to be that you're trying to be a bad person. And when you understand that, then you can leverage those relationships a certain way. And so the best way, I guess I start with podcasting because that's easier. The best way to start to make the connection with podcast, usually on any phone, you have podcast app. Usually on Apple, there's, your Apple podcast, and then Android has the same thing. So as you're listening to these different podcasts that coincide with what you speak about, find out what the name of that particular podcast is. Usually they have their website or some kind of link in their notes. And you can just click from there or find the website and listen to it. They usually say it at the end or at the beginning of their podcast. And most of these podcasts have a space on their website that says be on the show. And all you have to do, you have to kind of come up with your mind, how many speaking engagements on a podcast, how many speaking opportunities on a podcast do I want this year? Make a list. Right. And then make it make sense. Why do you want to be on these podcasts? Because that's what I've been learning with some of the ones that I've applied for. They will require you these days to not just apply. They want you to have watched at least 2 episodes. Because I had this one, I'm actually have a podcast interview coming up on Monday. And one of the prerequisites is that I had to watch 2 full episodes and then answer questions about it. Because she don't want people just on the show just to be on the show. Like, she wanted to make sure that she was talking to people that valued what she had to say and what she had to give. And so,
and another point to that, you want to make sure that it fits your brand. And a title can throw you off sometimes. And so you really need to listen to a show to make sure, do I vibe, or whatever word you want to use? Is this something that would represent me as well? And I just want to add too, as well, for the speakers that are new, I think podcasting is an excellent way to start even practicing sharing your story. So don't think that you have to be out there so long before you start applying to do podcasts. In fact, it will even help build your confidence by doing some of that as well.
I agree. I'm 100% in agreement with that. It does. And honestly, one of the podcasts that I'm doing was I had that specific goal in mind, because what I've been doing up to this point, in my opinion, has felt surface. Although people do kind of consider me, Brandy Iberia, she's real. Right. But y'all only should see and know what I want you to know. I've never really told my intimate story. And so I want to practice telling it. And so I said, okay, well, let me do some podcasts that will require me not to just talk about the books that I have or the different things that I do, that really require me to peel back the layers and talk about me. Right. And so that for me goes in alignment with the book that I have called 365 Days of Loving You, the authentic you, not the you that does all of the things. And so that's where because if I can't tell my story, I can't encourage somebody else to tell theirs, even if it's not to the world, if it's just so that they know who they are and they can love themselves anyway. And so that being said, yes, apply or yeah, I guess apply is the word for these podcasts. And again, you can start by just listening to the ones that you like. You know, you can start by just, okay, the title sometimes are catchy and that'll be your clickbait. And you may decide, oh, this isn't really it. You know, so, and then the other thing is things like this, being a part of groups like Speaker Circle, because there are stuff that will be posted on the inside of the group and you can kind of go from there, or just start talking to people within the group that you know have a podcast, or put the question in the group and see.
Yeah, and another thing too, what you did is you called Elsie, right?
Yes.
And you asked the question, who can you call? Sometimes we won't even speak. Like, you can just put a post. I remember it was this lady on LinkedIn, and she actually became one of my speakers for something different. But she had a goal. She's like, I want to do 12 speaking, like in-person speaking engagements. By the end of like that week, she had all of her engagements because she was not afraid to put it out there. She did stuff like on social media and stuff. So she shared a little bit about what her expertise was, but she got to speaking engagements by saying, this is what I'm trying to do. This is my goal. So don't be afraid to say, I'm looking to do podcasts. I'm looking to do radio. I want to share about A, B, or C. You never know what will come to you by just opening your mouth.
I mean, honestly, that is how, honestly, I've gotten different guests on my show, is because people weren't afraid to open their mouth and say, I want to be on your radio show, and so there's actually, I think it might be a couple people that are even in the group that was like, I got a book. And here's the thing, don't be afraid of no, right? And sometimes no is a hard no, and sometimes it's just not right now. Mm-hmm. But you have to almost see it as it is a bit of a numbers game. When you are, kind of going through this process, when you're dealing with no's and yeses, it's usually, I think the ratio is like 90% no's, 10% yeses, right? So get through those no's, right? So, okay, if you mark it off as that and not look at it as rejection, look at it as, okay, I'm going through my list because I got to get these 10% yeses. And usually when you finally get the yes, it's the yes that you've been looking for the whole time. Mm-hmm. And that one yes can open the door to 1,000 more, right? And so you just got to be diligent and you got to be consistent. Now, in terms of radio, like I said, people usually just reach out to me. They'll inbox me. Usually if you like a particular radio show, if it's a local radio station, you can listen. Usually at the very end, they'll tell you how you can connect with them, or get on the internet, go to the website. A lot of times, even honestly with these major talk shows, like even Ellen DeGeneres, like you can go to her website and look, they have categories of the type of topics they're looking for. See if you match the topic and apply. Like, we really feel like this stuff is so far away, and it really is just a click away. So it's a matter of doing and putting yourself out there. In terms of some of the other like bigger radio stations, I'm trying to think. See, I know it more from a musical, like if you have music, kind of how to access it. But as a speaker, unless it's a kind of a talk show, most radio shows operate a little different, So usually if you have your indie artist of some sort, or if you have a product that goes back, and I'm sure someone has talked about that here in the Speaker Circle, having a product also opens a door for you to talk about that, whether it's a book or a service, and then that opens the door for more speaking. I think that's really kind of it in a nutshell, in terms, again, it's the visibility, it's the consistency, and it's also just not being afraid to open your mouth and just say what you're looking to do.
And so, is there anything, and something you said too about being prepared, right? You're prepared for the opportunity when it comes. And that even goes for speaking. I know recently the speaking opportunity came from me because their speaker was sick. And so I had like less than a week. But if you're already ready and it's what you do, then you're just ready to walk through those doors. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to podcasting, radio, is there anything that they should prepare, anything that they should be asking the host of that show to be prepared?
There's a couple things that come to mind. I'll just share a little bit of my preparation secrets. One of the things that I do, outside of just, like the whole meditation and praying and all of that, like, Lord, please let me say something good. Outside of that, it is making sure that you are ready to actually talk. People say they want to speak, but how long can you really do it and keep a crowd engaged? Mm-hmm. So, and so what I did before I actually started like even doing radio and even getting into podcasting, I started using, I said this earlier, what I had in my hands. So I had click Facebook Live, and I would go on live, not looking for numbers, but looking to practice and say, let's see if when I go live, can I talk for 20 minutes and look as though I'm engaged for 20 minutes? And I would do that. And I remember, I think the first time I started doing that, for some reason, my nose started running. Like, I was like, I must be opening up something because I'm talking good. Okay. I was like, I'm going to end because this is a little, because I was like, if I wipe my nose one more time, it was a lot, because these are things that we don't think that we're about. Lanice, she been speaking for, it seemed like her whole life now. But these are because it's new, believe it or not, it's new muscles that you're using. It's new types of, even with your voice and even sitting, your posture, like, speaking virtually is different than speaking on the stage. Maybe you're doing great on the stage, doing great virtually or Facebook Live, and then you got to stand on the stage and work that. So then there were times, now I can't say from a speaker standpoint, but there are times where I've literally had to perform in front of seas of people. And I knew this was like down, if you're from Milwaukee, you ever been to Summerfest, some of those stages are massive. And it's like, how do I cover? You got people that are all around. I can't stay on this side. So I would literally go to where I had access. It could be my mom's basement and just perform and sing walking back and forth. So again, your preparation is, I think it was Bishop T.D. Jakes said that he would sometimes just go and preach in the back of the field and just walk back and forth. So I don't care what it looks like to the outside crowds. Probably may look real strange. You're trying, the different tonalities of your voice. What does it sound like, for me to be empathetic? What does it look like for me to be stern, in what I'm saying? And in a sense where I'm not copying off someone, right? And so that practice and preparation, again, came from, for me, just utilizing the tools that I had. For some of it, it was, like I said, the social media platforms. Other times, it's some friends. It's like, can I say that? Let me see how this sounds.
Right.
There were, and so it's about, again, even with that, doing it consistently and using, as kind of Lanice said, some of these opportunities on podcasts to build up your stamina and actually have, this is the last thing I'll say, and actually have something to show. Because the thing is, I had a friend that says, I want to start speaking. And I'm like, well, you don't have anything to show, right? So that's your opportunity to start to then develop your portfolio. It could be live videos. Take your phone, sit outside on your patio and take some videos, and just so you have something that people can reference as you're trying to move forward into bigger stages and bigger arenas.
Yeah, and I would just say, stop looking for perfection.
That's so good. Yes.
Look for progress. And if we just focus on that, like it does not have to be perfect. It may never even be perfect because guess what? We're always a work in progress. So if you're waiting on that, it'll never happen. So just move, you prepare and then say, you know what? I prepare. I've done my role. So let me go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the other thing, Yes, and another thing I was going to say, I love what you said about that. Just, forget about perfection. Honestly, we're living in a day and age right now where people actually prefer the mess up. Like that's what's going to send you viral. Not saying that you should just, mess up, but I'm just saying at the same time, when people, especially if you're dealing with a social media platform, people are not looking for you to be super polished. Usually those are the videos they're scrolling past. It's the girl sitting in her backyard holding her phone that got 5,000 people looking at her speak. And then the right person catches on and says, oh, maybe it's an Ellen DeGeneres or an Iberia.
Come on, Iberia.
Who gives a call and says, hey, I see what you're doing. I would love to talk to you. And you don't have to, if I think about how many guests I've actually watched on Ellen that were not polished, were just really horrible. And then you grow from there, and then you elevate from there. So I love what you said about it doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want to be consistent and be authentic, and be you, be
right.
You too. Okay.
And I love that. And I have two more questions, and then we're done, you guys. Already. Yes. I mean, this time always goes so quick.
I know. This is good.
When it comes to this, sometimes people are so worried, I feel, about having to change their story. So do they have to have a different story, a different message every time they're on these radio podcasts? What is your suggestion for their messaging?
That's a good question. I think it actually is better for you to have a consistent message. That is what becomes memorable. And actually what kind of comes to mind are people like Tabitha Brown. Most people know that name these days. And she just started with doing her videos cooking, cooking vegan food, right? Because this came from the fact that she was dealing with being sick. And so she gave up meat and she said she's going to become vegan for 30 days. And then she started to take us on the journey with her. Now, if you know anything about her, she's now elevated. She's done beyond. I mean, she has I think it's a steady role on a sitcom called The Chi. She has her own seasoning now. She's speaking all over the place, and she has certain statements that she's coined, and every time it's the same message. Right? It's a message of love. It's a message of minding your business. It's a message, and it may change a little bit. But I think that's the point I'm trying to make, that while you might talk about something different, like maybe they bring you on to talk about, I don't know, I guess it kind of depends on what the show is about. And it might be a focus on one thing, but your underlying message is always going to be the same. Like, for instance, with me, it usually has something to do with inspiration. It usually has something to do with connection. And it usually has something to do with humor. That's usually me. You're going to laugh. You're going to find some kind of resource, right? And you're going to get connected. That's going to happen every time, no matter what I'm talking about. And so you got to figure out what is your core message? No matter how the stage changes, what is your core message? And so I would encourage you to not always, change it, let it be the same. And so, because people, they're creatures of habit, and they love, if they can get a catchphrase or something they know, now you can always evolve. I'm not going to say what came to mind, a couple things, but you can always evolve, because I'm just thinking about, there's certain people that, I don't know, Bill Cosby came to mind. I was thinking about Puddin' Pops, and I was thinking, you're like, y'all probably, like, I don't want nobody else to say Puddin' Pops no more, right? But I think that's something, though, good to say, though. So that's what I'm saying. When you come out the gate, be authentic, because if something catches and it's not you, then that thing will follow you forever sometimes. It's like, this isn't even me. So that's one thing I pride myself in. No matter what it is that I'm saying, I try to make sure my message is consistent, even if the stage changes. But it's always something. I guess sometimes I say this, I said what I said in my spirit, right? Anything I say, it's because I meant it, right? So you want to make sure that you know what you're saying, know what you're talking about before you jump on these platforms, because on social media, baby, it cannot be erased. It's out there.
And I love what you've been saying. And I'm getting a message, and I hope that everybody else is getting this message: consistency.
Yes.
You've been saying, whatever you do, be consistent. Also, in your message. So, have a consistent message and then do something consistently. And that will equal results. So I don't care if you're consistent, like this is once a month. So that may not be a lot to people, but you can guarantee once a month, we're gonna do this. I did another group with Wives in Waiting, and I met once a month. And then when COVID happened, I said, no, we're still meeting once a month, even if it's virtually. And someone recently said to me, I've been watching you. You are so consistent. Consistency is hard, y'all.
It is.
It's a struggle sometimes, but that will equal you the results and your consistent message. So keep that in mind. And you said a little bit about resources. Is there any resources that people should look out for? You said something about like looking at the podcast they like. Is anything else that you would share with them as a tip?
Yeah, absolutely. It was something else too that you had said just about consistency. I wanted to piggyback off of just really quick, which was that, when you are consistent, because we were talking about then how do I get these connections to these different podcasts? Again, back to that consistency, having a consistent message, being authentic with who you are and intentional. I think that's the other part, being intentional. They will reach out to you. Literally, because these podcasts need people, to keep going, unless it's just one of those kinds of podcasts where they kind of have things that they talk about. But those that have guests, they're always looking for guests, right? And so being consistent, you'll be surprised at who sees you and they're like, oh, good, I can have. Because there's sometimes for me, I'm like, oh, I need to book out my podcast for the rest of the year. I'll do that sometimes in one swoop. And so I'm like, I literally go to my social media. Sometimes I know people specifically, but sometimes I'm looking for new people. And if you don't have your page, you don't have anything on your page that makes me even think that you're a speaker, or I don't see any video, because sometimes somebody may tell me something about somebody. I'll go to their page, I'll look through their videos, and they don't have no videos.
Me too,
where's your stuff? I click the website and the link don't work. So that's the part. Yes, be consistent, but then know that your consistency is going to draw people when they come. Have your stuff together,
right?
So that's a big, huge piece of that. Now, in terms of resources, it's kind of difficult. It kind of comes with the territory of consistency, because usually once you make the connection with the podcast or make the connection with the radio show, that's when the conversation happens. And so I think in terms of the resources, know what you need. Like when I've learned about, for me, when I'm really clear on what I need, the resource appears. It's weird. Like it literally is like I've been thinking, I wrote it down, and then I'll just overhear someone, or I'll see something on social media that says, oh, apply for free money, or, you got to make sure it's not a scam though too, when it comes down to things like that. But in general, it's like, or for instance, I was looking for other ways to be able to access media credentials, because you have to have media credentials to access like red carpets. And so I put that out on my list that this is something I wanted to do. And so to do that, what I did was I connected with, there's a National Black Media Group. So I said I need to be a member of all of the things that are connected to my brand. There's usually some type of a network connected to it. So whether it's radio or speaker, like Speaker Circle, you could be connected here. But then usually there's like a national level something that you can connect to. So I did that for media. I went ahead and did it for, I joined the National Black MBA, people who have MBAs. I'm just like, I don't know where the connection is going to come. Because it could open for, my podcast. It could open for me to speak or be a panelist somewhere, but that's what I'm doing. So that's why I'm, all that being said, you got to know where are you going? What do you really want to see? And even if you don't know exactly what the finish line looks like, you should at least know what you want to do tomorrow, right? You got to come up with that. And then the next step is going to appear from that. And so the resources kind of come when you start to get organized. Something I do every year is I plan out what I give myself a word for the year. So everything I do is going to be reflective of that word, right? So this year is just a year of harvest for me. Last year was the year of relentless. That meant that everything that I did, I was going to be relentless in doing it. Like I was like, nope, I'm not stopping until it's done, right? This year I'm reaping. And I'm reaping, y'all, but I guarantee it's because I put it out there. I said, this is what's happening. And I'm telling you, the universe will bend to you. It'll be like, oh, that's what she said. Like, we don't know the power that we really have. Lord, please, Lord, help me not to preach. But we don't know the power that we really have in really decreeing and declaring and speaking out what we want to see over our speaker businesses, over our brands, over our products, over our services, over our lives, over our families, over our friends, over the groups we're connected to. Say what you want to see. And I guarantee you something's going to manifest from that type of planted seed.
That's good. This has been a fabulous conversation. I thank you so much for your time. I thank you so much for your words and your advice. And so in closing, if you have any closing words, please share those, but also share your services and how people can connect to you if they want more information.
I guess my closing words are just know that you are enough. You hear people say that again, but I love just to remind people that they are, right? Which means that everything that you need, you've already got, sis. Everything that you need, you already got, my brother, right? And so that's the ask. What do I do with what I already have in my hands? I don't care if it's a tablet. I don't care if it's a pen and a piece of paper. And you be diligent and consistent. There it is again on that. And I'm telling you, the doors will open for you, and it might just be on level 1, but you keep walking and then you don't get to an elevator. You go to level 2 or whatever happens after that. But don't stop. Don't you dare quit, right? It is going to happen for you if you faint not. And so how can you connect with me? A few different places. I mentioned the Saved in the City Christian Network, also the Saved in the City radio show, everything connected under that, www.savedandthecityintl.com is the website. Again, www.savedandthecityintl.com, or you can follow me on social media at Saved in the City, really anywhere. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the platforms. In terms of my services, so it's Luminosity Media Group. I do social media management and development. I do marketing campaigns and PR, some graphic designs, and really anything that goes along with your marketing campaigns and ideas. And so we usually start with a consultation and then we go from there. And so if you're interested in a consultation, I actually have recently started to charge fees for the consultation, but for those of you that are part of the Speaker Circle group and you see this video, I am happy to do a free 15-minute consultation with anyone who decides that, they want to talk a little bit more in the direction of what they should do and where they should go in terms of their speaker business and or where media falls within that. And so you can visit me at www.luminosity, LUMINOCITYENT.com. I think that's it. Brandy Iberia across all social media platforms. Iberia is a whole other brand. We won't get into that right now. And really, just reach out to Lanice. You know how to get to me. This has been awesome, Lanice. Thank you so much. It has been my esteemed honor to be here and to chat with you and all of our speakers.
Thank you so much. And you know what? I do want to close with this, and I'm going to share too, because you do have a podcast and a radio. What type of guests are you looking for, just in case there might be someone on this platform that says, you know what? I think I might be that perfect
Honestly,
guest.
yeah. The radio show is on break for the summer. So we're doing like syndicated shows that are replaying, but I am building up for when we come back in the fall. So I am looking for really with the Saved in the City radio show, it's usually faith-based inspirational content. So, it's not just, so I get a lot of people who have a book and want to come on. And so it's not just that, it's not promotional based on that particular show. It really is based on your message and your story. And if you happen to have product, then we announce that as well, right? So if you got an inspirational story or something that you want to share that will, like I said, will either inspire or challenge people to think outside the box, reach out to us. So Saved in the City radio show is kind of like, if you think about the Breakfast Club, it's like the Christian Breakfast Club. So we laugh, we talk, and we deal with real life topics, kingdom solutions for real world issues. But also, if you go to the website, there is a place to sign up and say why you want to be on the show. And I think I do have some categories. Now, with the other podcast, it's called Marketing with Black Girl Magic. I am booked for the rest of the year. However, I am always looking for more people to put on for next year. And so I pre-record. So we potentially will record this year and you will be aired in the later year unless something's changed, you know, even with my last guest that I have. And so with that, usually with that, you need to be a woman in marketing, PR, or some type of influencer kind of a business, and then I'm happy to talk. And it's usually a 20-minute interview, and I love to talk with the sisters doing that in the world today. So, yeah.
Thank you, Brandy. I actually thought of somebody for Saved in the City. So when we get off the air, I'm going to share that with you. I think they would be really good.
I'm here for it. Love it.
Yeah, so make sure you guys connect, show the hearts. Thank you so much, Brandy. Woo! Thank you guys for joining us. Like I told you, it was going to be good. I feel like I'm ready to go and look for some more podcasts and things myself. I also want to share, obviously, you could be on the speaker circle, right? And so maybe you thought about, you know what? I have something that will really help these speakers move ahead. So if that's you, you can, I do have a list of people, but do not stop moving forward, because sometimes I'm like, you know what, this message is needed right now, and I will move things around based upon the current need as well. So feel free, if you are a speaker and you have something that would help speakers move their brand forward, and that is your area of expertise, please don't stop, reach out, and we will see how we will connect. So again, my name is Lanice McGee, also known as Lanice Leads, here in the Speaker Circle, and I thank you guys, and we